Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about rejection. I just read a thread on the Neville Goddard subreddit and felt compelled to respond to this person. So I figured that I would make a video about this since it seems germane to the viewing audience and people in general. You know, people talk about rejection like it's a thing, it's just something you have to get over. But rejection is just another perception that is heavily based on your self-concept. If you are who you want to be and you fit into your own image of what you should be and you're good with that, there's no such thing as being rejected. It doesn't exist. There's no rejection in my world. It's not possible. It just isn't, because I'm what I want to be. So if, say, there's a romantic situation where I was interested in somebody, I'm engaged, but if there was a romantic situation where I was interested in somebody and they weren't interested in me, my assumption would not be that's because there's something wrong with me or I'm not good enough. It would be simply they're looking for something else, or they have a major flaw within them that is not a match for myself, you know, my view of myself, which is healthy and good and where it should be. The assumption has to be that it's not about you. And to be honest with you, it should be that way about everything. Your assumption should always be that other people's reactions are not about you. Even if they're saying it is. Even if the person who is rejecting you is telling you that it's things about you they find deficient. That is their fucking problem, unless you agree. So when somebody is rejecting you and you feel those feelings of rejection, that's because you also reject those things about yourself. Whatever it is that you don't think is good enough. Half the time when people don't want to be with you, they never even tell you why. So you're just left there sitting with your own thoughts about yourself, assuming that, you know, it's these things about you that you don't like or that you think are inadequate. You have to find a way to accept yourself and get to the point where you are the best that you can be and that you are the things that you want. And if there is something about you that you just think is unacceptable, you really, if you can't change it, or you don't have the faith to like magic it into something else, if that's even possible. And I'm talking about like face structure and stuff like that people claim you can just imagine that it's different and then it will magically change. And yet we have no photographic evidence of this. If it's something that you can't change and you think it's unacceptable, you're going to have to fix that. You're going to have to change your mind about that. It's that simple. You can't just go through your life feeling like you are a miserable piece of shit that is deformed and flawed fundamentally and all of that. You have to find a way to get good with it. There are people way worse than you in the past that have gotten okay with themselves, that then go on to lead their productive lives with people that are attracted to them. Dude, the ugliest people in the world get laid. It's just that simple. I mean, look around on the internet for some of the wedding photos of people that have married each other, and just, you have to get okay with the things about yourself that you think are unacceptable if you can't find a way to change them. When you're good with yourself, you will not experience rejection anymore. You'll see it differently. You'll see it as, I'm not compatible with that person. You know what I mean? Do you want to be with somebody that that wouldn't work with you in a relationship? The easiest way to know that you wouldn't work in a relationship with somebody is they don't want to be with you. Like, this is really simple shit. And when it's not clouded over by a whole bunch of negative ideas about your own worth and like what you have to offer and whether or not you're good enough or adequate, when those clouds are removed from in front of your eyes, this all really becomes obvious. You know, relationships work when they work, and people come together and fit together just like puzzle pieces. All their personality traits and weaknesses and strengths come together and have this interplay that, when the relationship continues for a long time, is a perfect match. I mean, look at anybody who you've known that's in a relationship for a long time. Those people are a perfect match, even if one seems way better than the other. I promise, like the flaws in the obvious flaws in the lesser party match up with some part of the better looking parties. Better looking meaning they seem better. It matches up with some concept that person has, some belief, some view that they have of themselves. Those two are on the exact same level, whether or not you think one is way better and one's way worse. Mentally, they are a perfect match. That's how this shit works. So when you get to the point that, in my opinion and my experience, the apex of this is total and utter self-acceptance and satisfaction with where you are in life. That's a highly individual thing for every person. You have an image in your mind of what you should be. And until you either change that or match with it, you're going to feel like you're not right, like you're not adequate. And then when somebody doesn't want to be with you, it'll feel like rejection. Or when you don't get a job, it'll feel like you got rejected. When you are good enough in your own estimation, other people can pound sand if they don't like it. And it is the most liberating thing in the world. There is nobody, and I make a YouTube channel now that has 5,000 subscribers. I get shitloads of comments every day. And if somebody says something that irritates me, I just delete them from the channel. It's really simple. But I get this constantly. Like, if I gave a shit what anybody said about me or my opinions on here, or, people making comments about my looks and saying I'm stupid, like I'm just some bimbo on here. I have actually been called a bimbo. Like I'm a bimbo on here talking about stuff that she doesn't understand. Can you imagine if I gave a shit about that, how hellacious my life would be? Not giving a shit what other people think is glorious. And the way to go about doing that is, one, you have to get to the point where you are good with yourself, like I was just saying. But you also have to understand that just like you, every person you meet has a view of the world. They have a concept of themselves. They have a view of themselves. They have just shitloads and shitloads of beliefs about everything based on their thousands and thousands of moments of being alive and experiencing. I mean, it's like, it's not as unique as a fingerprint. It's like every person has 1,000 unique fingerprints from everybody else. So when you're meeting somebody, every single thing they think about you, their attraction for you or not, how they feel about you, their judgments about you, that is completely based on them and their experience. And that's them. Who cares? Like, that's the thing. Who cares? Really. It is so liberating to get to the point where you understand this to the point that it is the truth, because it is. This isn't something that I think is easy to swallow, because we're so used to feeling like everybody around us, like we're sharing this reality and we have like a shared viewpoint, and our family, we see things the same. I mean, you and your siblings have had a completely different experience of life. Maybe you experience mom and dad's personality in a similar way, but everything else is just completely unique. The closest people to you, the people that share the most DNA, are living in a completely different world. Even when you feel like you're totally vibe with them, if you were in their mind or you saw how they see you, you would probably be shocked at how different it is from how you see yourself. And so once you really sit and think about that for a while and sit with that, it eventually all points to the same thing. Worrying about what other people think is just an absolute waste of time. It's just swimming in the illusion. It's just imagining that somebody else thinks this without ever knowing if it's true or not. You can pretty much count on it that it isn't. What you think somebody thinks about you or about anything, even if they use the same words as you, words mean different things to people. The point of this is that rejection is totally a matter of perception, and it has everything to do with how you feel about yourself. When you get rejected and when you're in the situation where you want something from somebody that they don't want to give you, and you experience that as rejection, that's just you saying, I'm not good enough. That's it. That's just you perceiving something that happened in a way that's in alignment with your misperceptions about yourself and your value, and then agreeing on some level that, yes, I'm not good. Agreeing with yourself that you're not good enough, essentially. I don't know if any of that made any sense. I hope it did. But it is possible and attainable and advisable to get to a point where you can't feel that way anymore. Where acceptance of yourself and approval of yourself, essentially, has risen to a level where if someone else doesn't like it, they can just eat a bag of carrots. So rejection isn't a thing. It's a perception. It's just your perception of yourself. If you feel rejected, you're just rejecting yourself, honestly. This is the everyone is you pushed out concept in a nutshell, really. How you experience your life is you. Everything, you know, Neville Goddard didn't just say everyone is you pushed out. He said the entire world is you pushed out, including people. And that's what he means. Your experience of your reality is coming straight through your lens. And, you know, if you experience something as a rejection, you have to look at what about this do I reject about myself? Honestly, I mean, it's that simple. What am I rejecting about myself? What am I perceiving as a rejection? And it doesn't matter if the person says it's because you're too ugly or because you're too dumb or because you're not cool enough or you're not manly enough or whatever. You don't look enough like a cheerleader, whatever. It doesn't, that's that person's own fucking self-concept. It's got nothing to do with you. Somebody else might see you and be like, you're too much like a cheerleader. It's hilarious to me that somebody called me a bimbo because that is like, I actually liked it because that's so far off from any type of insult I've ever gotten in my life. I kind of enjoyed it. Matt thought that was pretty funny too. But basically it's just all coming through you, and rejection is just a perception. When you get to a point where you're good with yourself, if somebody doesn't want to have a relationship with you, you just assume we're not a match. It's not because I'm not good enough. We're just not a match, you know? I was attracted to something about that person that, you know, maybe I thought was going to fulfill something for me, or, you know, maybe I was perceiving it wrong. I saw something I thought was attractive about this person. You know what I mean? That's that. Drop it. You move on. It's not some big thing where you spend your life in this pit of rejection, and only you can decide what it is that you want to be in order to feel like you're good enough. And that's its own thing, you know, that's its own thing. Your motivations for what that's going to be are also going to be based on your self-concept. And are you trying to please the outside world? Are you deciding what you want, or are you deciding what you want to be based on what you think you should be for other people? You know, this isn't some simple thing like people make it out to be. But I can tell you that rejection isn't a real thing. And so knowing that moving forward, you can know at a time where you're feeling rejection that that's just bringing up feelings that you have about yourself. It's got nothing to do with, you know, the other person. It's always all about you. I hope that helps somebody. Have a great day.